Morgan.
All right, it's July the 13th, 2009. It is after 4:45. We have a workshop beginning at this time. Who's it? FC is going to be doing that presentation. Somebody.
Good afternoon, board members, chairman, Bruziak, Mr. Mayor, Rodriguez. First of all, thank you all for giving us the opportunity to be here this afternoon and present a brief overview of the P25 radio project that the city of Brownsville will be undertaking or migrating to here in the next several years. Being that PUB is part of our radio system since 1995 or 96 when we came on board and enhanced the radio system and became part of the public safety radio system that the city has. So we've been on there since then. It is important to note that this is something that we're doing because we need to be compliant with FCC rules for the year 2013. So as we migrate on from analog to digital, just like the television system did recently, same thing applies for the radio system, that we'll be migrating from analog to digital. And we have to be FCC compliant for the year 2013. With me today is Mr. James Ewing, who owns and operates South Texas Communications. He's an authorized Motorola representative. He's the one that's going to be presenting the project this afternoon, a brief overview, and then when we're done, we'll open it up for any questions that the board or PUB management has at that time. So at this time, I'm going to invite Mr. James Ewing to come up and do the presentation on the P25 radio project. James?
Good afternoon. I am James Ewing, and I'm from South Texas Communications. I'd like to thank you all for giving us an opportunity to come and share with you what the neighborhood is doing, what the community is doing, what the valley is doing, the state and federal government are doing. It will keep you all informed about what those directions are and how important it is for us to all be together in this. So if I may, I'll just start this PowerPoint presentation. I hope. And we'll go from there. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the system and crossing from an analog to a digital system and going beyond voice and having a system that has a few more features and benefits to it. As you know, Motorola has been in the radio communications business for quite a few years. They're one of the founders of two-way radio from way back then. And so you recognize them as the guys in the public safety business, but very many of you recognize them from the cellular side of the business. But if you can imagine, Motorola is highly involved all the way through the whole neighborhood in different ways. And they're not just about radio. They use the term all things wireless. So you can see it's a pretty aggressive backbone of all the different kinds of things they do, from mobile devices all the way to every kind of data you can imagine to transfer in a wireless atmosphere. The business that the public sector is in is a mission-critical atmosphere, and it is that everything that we develop has to have not only a great background, but great redundancy and a great infrastructure that will be here, and also it has to be very simple for the user so that they will have it be technology that's second nature to them. When an officer goes for his gun, he has practiced so many times that he gets there very quickly. Same way with the radio. Everyone knows how to use it because it's their tool that they use every day. And so from Motorola's point of view, they have a great leadership in the communications technology world. And wireless is their core, and they bring secure mission-critical mobility to our community, and it enables true mobile workforce efficiency and cost effectiveness. And part of that is from sharing. Now, Project 25 is this new standard that the chief spoke of a little earlier, and it is that it was developed as a joint effort of all the people in the public sector that said, let's find a way to have all the people that manufacture radios make it common to us. When you grab a 100-watt light bulb and you screw it in, you expect for every 100-watt light bulb socket to be exactly the same so that it'll work in that fashion. And that's the way the communications community wants it to be, so that when you grab a Motorola radio, it'll work on the system, but so can any other radio. They want them to be able to work together, and that's very important. It's very standards-based and non-proprietary. In other words, Motorola can't keep everybody out. Maycom or E.F. Johnson or Yamaguchi or whoever the other brand is also has to develop together in every way. And first responders depend on that for interoperability. Currently, Motorola has about 1,000 of these systems on the air that are in the conventional mode and 200 of them that are in the trunking mode. And as you can see by the map, its coverage is a great deal of the world. And this P25 standard has been set forth as an absolute mandate. This may be the most important slide that we have, and it's clearly not for police and fire anymore. It is for every kind of agency that is a public serving community agency, city, county, state, fed, every piece of depth, every department in all those areas. And then two-way interoperability. And we find that this path must be absolutely common. And it's done in such a fashion that by frequency and by equipment, you're able to communicate with each other. The other part that's important in interoperability is that you have the ability to have equal radio coverage. So anytime you have anybody's radio come to this community, you want it to be able to talk in the same coverage area as yours, and then it needs to be scalable. And where it came from was, if you can see all the different circles and coverage there, this is what our community looked like in 2004. Nobody could talk to each other in any one of those colors of circles. Very, very poor interoperability. So if we had a disaster happen, and we did, they would go to, for example, run to South Padre Island, and everybody comes out there, and police, fire, and public works are on different frequencies. Schools and all PUB was on different frequencies before this. So anybody that came as a group of city, county, state, fed finally got to South Padre Island and determined they couldn't talk to each other. All that is changing, and we're trying to make improvements on that right now. So the federal government chose level 6 as the standard of operations. And this level 6 is the term they use through the communications world quite a bit. You must be at level 6, and it simply translates to Project 25. The governor decided that in 2004 he would make everybody at least be able to talk to each other in some fashion by mechanical connection or phone line connections or some fashion to tie radios together, and it was the pursuit of getting to the next level, and that was to bring it to P25, and we're still going towards that direction. So as everybody came to help, nobody could communicate, and we recognize everybody must be able to communicate. Project 25 is about taking all the technologies and folding them up into one. So although it is a technology that you should have radio access, you should also have all the other systems be able to interface to you so that you can communicate. Advanced dispatch center operations, data applications of all different shapes and flavors and sizes, so that it's not just about voice anymore. We use the same infrastructure for doing data messaging also, including down to text messaging to try to free up some airtime and give a better description of what that really would be. And then over-the-air reprogramming. We used to have to take all the radios in and change something on all the radios and then send them back to the field, and now we have the ability to overcome that. We've also added GPS location devices. So a portable radio on one of your people can have a microphone that's GPS capable, and so that everywhere that that individual would travel, you could have them on the map. So you have not only a productivity improvement, you have a first response or better response time to the call for service from your customer. All web-based applications and very open architecture, quite on purpose, so everybody can talk to each other. And again, it's designed for mission-critical operations. So there's a family of portable radios that will do those same kinds of things. It allows for all the different technologies that are out there to be able to be communicated. So they're forward and backward compatible, so it'll talk to the old system and the new. It will talk on multi-bands, which we never had that in the past. This is a new technology. And the radios are physically louder and clearer, and again, GPS capability. Mobiles are of the same nature. But now we add the other component, and that is the data side of it. So now we have on the system to be used just the same system as the voice system. Handheld products that can deliver data, billing data, metering information, all those kinds of things, all the way down to mobile products that are more ruggedized for the vehicles themselves. Built for everyone to build on, the most cost-effective migration plan, meets all the standards of the border, state, federal, public safety, interoperable communications plan, and it establishes a common platform for everybody to utilize from a city, county, state, forward interoperability capability. And it's built for everyone to share. So here's how we were, and here's how the system will look as we finish the build out over the next year. Now, Brownsville was afforded in this first round of money the first 5 channels of this system. Currently have a 15-channel system on the air, so the first 5 channels have been from the PSIC grant, and so those funds came from the feds to the state, to the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council, to the city of Brownsville, and that implementation will probably start for that infrastructure sometime at the end of next month. And we've tried to make it easier for everyone in the philosophy of how to handle this. We get used to operating in a certain place on our radio. I always operate in this one channel. When it comes time for the transition, I want to be in exactly that same place, operating on the same channel. To me, it's not going to make any difference. I'm going to flip one switch and be able to operate, and it'll be transparent for me. And that's what it must be for the user. It must be very, very simple. When we have an emergency response situation, we have a standard set of talk groups that you will work on in your everyday process, plus you'll have some that are done for emergency operations center purposes only, so that as you join in that process, you can be away from your everyday traffic and associate with the other people in the emergency operations plan, and then you can go back and distribute on your regular talk groups. Plus, there's full backup to the infrastructure. There's not only going to be a site here, but there will be another additional site that will be at Omito, that will be a full backup to this location should we lose activity there. Then there are regional talk groups. When we get past we have other neighbors come from other areas. There is, for example, a talk group called Regional Public Works. Everybody from every community, all the way up in the valley, all the way up and down the valley, will have that talk group on almost every radio that's out there, so that everybody could go to that resource and talk to each other, rather than saying, I'm sorry, I don't have that on my radio. Texas National Guard just put together 500 radios to put in a war chest that have all of these valley talk groups in them also, so that they can deploy and come to town, bring their 500 radios, and either hand them out to us as we need them because we have a real disaster, or share an operation with us leaving those radios in their hands. And then, of course, all sorts of national common talk groups. Now, the city of Brownsville has quite a few local partners, and you probably may not have watched those people that have migrated into the system along with the support of the chief and the city of Brownsville. All of the natural departments all the way through the city. Certainly Brownsville ISD has joined several different departments. Their first one was their police department, and it's kind of migrated from there. Of course, Public Utility Board, UT Brownsville joined us a few years ago also for their police department. We have them meshed up with the Border Patrol, so as they built the wall over there, now they can communicate with each other over the system. So it's a very good situation. And you can see the large group of folks from the county that have always also joined the system. And in recent days, thanks to the TRAC, Trauma Area Regional council or committee, whatever they are, they have provided radios to these hospitals, and they're also able to communicate with us. In this transition, we get to use some of the existing infrastructure. One of those things is that big tower that was built all these many years ago. That tower is a seriously built tower. As you can see, it's rated 150-mile-an-hour wind, or one of the terms it doesn't put on there, with a half-inch ice also, so I don't know when we're going to have that combination, but that's the way they built the tower, so it's very, very rigid. We're going to do some work with the dispatch center to improve it, certainly the infrastructure. We're going to replace some of that. And the system is going to be built out with quite a bit of redundancy. Now, here are the dispatch positions that we have now, and here's PUBs also connected to the system. But we're going to add some more backup so that internally, should these things fail, we have control stations on the desk that will give us a fallback position. And if the computer dies itself, then we have that ability. If the system dies itself and we need to talk to another system, well, then we'll have backup radios that will give us the ability to do that. And these are all interfaced all the way up and down the valley so that everybody can go through that migration. One of the most important parts that you must do is do good training. We feel like it's important that not only do good training, we have to do good drills also. And your people have been participating with us in what's called the Cameron County Radio Coalition and in the drills that we provided over the last year. We've probably had 4 real good drills over the last year. So, level 6 interoperability, digital voice and data, wireless or wide area of coverage, cost savings because of cost sharing, autonomy, meaning you get to have your own system, your own privacy, but you get to share in that mission critical atmosphere when the time comes for that. And so from where you were in an analog system to this valley-wide system is quite a transition. Hopefully this will give you some light to where you can see how to get there. Questions, please?
What's the difference on the colors of light blue and the dark blue?
They were actually different purchases that were done as different grants came through for bringing that infrastructure to pass. The first 2 dark ones were from 2007 Homeland Security money. The 2 real light ones were Homeland Security money. The outside ones that are in the light blue were from the PSIC grant, Public Safety Interoperable Communications. And the other 2 were outright purchases that were done with Homeland Security money from 2008 funding.
But you're able to communicate.
They're all tied together, actually with either T1 phone lines or microwave, depending on which site it is, how that works. So they are all tied together, literally.
So right now, isn't PUB and we're already integrated, or with the police, or
With the city of Brownsville, when we set that up in 2001 to make sure it all came together, we programmed radios in such a fashion that yes, you are together. But that system will retire, start a quick migration of technology being retired. As that new system gets installed into next month, first part of the next month, they will start migrating off of that and be all of the digital system in a very short period of time. The idea is they don't want to leave you behind because there's not enough frequencies, there's not enough money to duplicate systems and those kind of things, so the cost sharing becomes a real valued proposition for everybody concerned.
Are you saying that the analog system is going to be phased out and won't be available anymore?
I don't determine what that timeline is, just to say that yes, indeed, it will be phased out as time goes on.
Like everything, even digital?
Everything in the analog system. Because there's a shortage of frequencies, we don't have the ability to put on 2 sets on the air, so we physically have to take some channels off the air in order to do the rest. But now we've got 2 systems to maintain. So as the math goes on, it'll work to do the transition at that point. Not an easy transition.
So if the PUB continued to operate the same analog system, yet had a single unit to communicate with the emergency responders, would that not suffice?
The challenge is the emergency responders are going to be on the other system. As soon as this system
I'm
goes
saying we would be
away,
on the same system because we'd have a unit from which we could communicate with the,
like a single unit,
yeah.
sure, absolutely.
You're not proposing that the police department would be dispatching to any of our.
No, sir.
right?
No, sir, not at all. Just that if you followed the migration with them and you migrated to the digital system and they retired their analog system, which they would need to do anyway, it's 1994 infrastructure. It's no longer supported as a technology. So they're trying to make sure that this system comes off and the new one comes on.
That's why I go back to the first question was, do you see the analog system support timeframe short? Like, is it within
Very
a couple
short,
of
yes,
years?
typically.
What is it really? What is, if you're going to?
And again, I certainly wouldn't want to be a driving force in that. That certainly is beyond me.
I'm trying to get you to either say it's gonna end in a couple of years or 5 years so we can know what timeframe we have to operate the system.
Well, I think the best answer for that question would be is how soon are we going to be able to migrate over? I mean, if we had the money in place and it was funded and we were ready and the equipment was on the ground, it could be tomorrow. But definitely it could be a year to 2 years down the road. So the timeline is, the actual timeline that we need to be looking at is we need to be compliant with SVC rules by the year 2013. Definitely, the sooner we do it, if we buy the package as one whole package instead of buying piecemeal it together, it'd be a lot quicker and a lot cheaper. But definitely, if we take our time and buy, single radios, or we buy single units or things like that, then it's going to take longer and it's going to cost more. So yeah, you would be on the system until we are fully migrated or transition over to digital. So it could definitely be 2 or 3 years. But on the other hand, if for some reason our city commission, our city management decides that we're ready to go next month, then it could be easily within the year that we could be over to digital, and then the analog system is out.
But if you have to see who guides when the frequencies die, or who decides when the frequencies die, and the analog system dies.
They transfer with the system.
They transfer with the system. The frequencies transfer with the system. We go from analog to digital. Frequencies transfer with us, transfer with the system.
What's the range on your handheld with the digital system?
It actually has improved. The way that you have heard analog work in the past, the farther you got away, it sounded worse and worse. It got more and more and more scratchy as time goes on. In the digital platform, it actually is the same distance. It just is clean for the majority of the path, and then it goes away. So it actually, digital, because of error checking and other things that it does, actually comes out better. The range is the same, it just sounds better.
How are you all incorporating like water districts, gas supplies, co-ops, IOUs? Are they converting to this system too?
I'm sorry, ask the question again, please.
How are you handling the migration of water districts, gas supplies, independently owned utilities, co-ops like Magic Valley? Are they having to migrate with everybody else?
Independents are not in the public safety trunking systems or in the you're right, they are not. They are not. But for example, water districts, drainage districts, those kind of guys that are nonprofit organizations certainly should be operating on the system for cost sharing purposes. But a Magic Valley Electric, if I understand it correctly, is certainly a for-profit industry, and they would probably be separate and away from this.
Just kind of for benefit of the board, just to give you an overview. The city and various, or the police department, along with the city and various other entities, are migrating away from the analog system that we're currently on, that PUB is also on. And they're moving to this digital system. PUB is looking at going with them as one of the options. A team was put together from various groups, departments here at PUB, and we'll also be looking at other options. This is just one of the options, but the city and the chief wanted to come and kind of do a little bit of education with y'all, so we wanted to give them that opportunity. But we will be looking at other options also.
Let me get this straight. Is this system we're talking about, is it for an emergency use only, or is this our standard use, and are there going to be enough frequencies for all the entities we're talking about?
It's day-to-day, everyday use.
In everyday use?
Daily operations, whether it's emergency, whether it's public works, it's day to day. It's not just strictly for.
And there'll be enough frequencies, no overlaps,
That's.
until and when you need to
When we,
communicate
well,
with
well,
each other?
when we keep all the frequencies together, which that's our plan to do, is to keep them all together, that reduces the amount of calls that are gonna be dropped. The less frequencies you have and the more calls that come in, somebody's gonna get bombed out or their call's gonna be dropped, so they won't be able to communicate.
Right.
The more radios, whether they're handheld or mobile radios that you have on the system, regardless of what entities you represent, the larger the system needs to be so that no calls are dropped, especially emergency calls.
Do we have an idea what we're talking
I was
about?
just gonna ask,
Oh.
Eddie, what the cost would be to PUB in the city?
My understanding is the cost of the entire system for the city of Brownsville is $5.6 million, and PUB share would be $1.2 million. Hence the reason we're looking at various options.
Does anybody else have any questions, Mr. Husband?
How many of the entities there in our area have already agreed to go on board?
Well, pretty much the majority of the departments are city departments, so City of Brownsville. With the exception, we have the college and the school district that is leasing radio space from us. So definitely they have an option not to go. They're gonna be left out. You have an option to come with us at the same time, and if not, then you're gonna be left out. And explore other options that would be available to PUB at that time.
So what time frame are you looking at?
Well, I need to go back to see, well, definitely it would be easier to say that we would like to get this done within the next several months, but this is something that we have to go back with, discuss with our finance director, with the city manager, and then we bring it before our city commission and the mayor, to determine how soon we can be able to get this done.
Anybody else have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, gentlemen, I think this would be best taken up during the budget process. I think that's when we could probably get the money.
And we're in that process right now.
Yeah, so I don't think this would be the time to amend the budget for this, but it's something we gotta do.
Okay.
There's no choice about it, really. In case of emergency, we gotta be able to communicate.
I think the key here, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Boucher, is that all of us are considered first responders, whether we're police, fire, or EMS, or public works. Definitely, I'm a police officer. In a natural disaster, a natural storm, and my lights or my water go out, I want somebody from PUB there turning it on. Likewise, if you had an emergency, you would want a firefighter, police officer present.
But you also want, we want to know what's going on in the outside world besides ours. Because we don't want somebody getting hurt because they're not supposed to be, or we're not responding as we should be. So it's important to be able to communicate with all the entities, not only locally, but regionally.
Well, as you have other entities that would come in and would help us, say the National Guard. It came to be that what the National Guard is, that we were able to communicate, we would be able to communicate with them.
To secure or anything.
To secure, whatever the premise is, to secure downtown from looting and things like that.
So if during a hurricane situation, this system would be the best system to have in place?
Yes, sir.
One more question, are there any grants available or any stimulus money of any kind?
There's some grants that we've already tapped into, and there's some other grants that will be available in the future. The problem would be the conditions or requirements that those grants bring along with them, whether we can use some of that money. I incur obligation now and use some of that grant money to pay off, incurred debt already. So there's stipulations there that we don't know what they are, and until the grants become available, then we would know at that time. But definitely, from the standpoint of, say, the police department, we would make every opportunity available to go tap into those grants and try to ensure to pay off some of that debt with those grants in the future.
The other thing is that this is a regional thing, it's not just right here. This went through the Lower Rio Grande Development Council, which has been very supportive of it, endorsed it, and has partnered up with everybody else.
That's correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen.
We have the lights back on. Well, all right, the meeting, supposed to start at 5 o'clock. Just a point of order, I just need to point out that Mr. Albia's term on this board has expired effective July the 1st. However, he is to serve until a replacement has been named and sworn in. Yeah, I hope this isn't your last, but if it is, thank you for serving. All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order. I will entertain a motion to recess to close meeting pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071 to discuss pending litigation and competitive and sensitive items. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Husser, do I have a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. We are recessed into closed executive session. Thank you. All right, this meeting is reconvened in open session. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Can everyone please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on the agenda is action taken on items discussed in closed meeting. I will entertain a motion to authorize the CEO to purchase a property discussed in closed meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, I have a motion by the mayor and Mr. Vice is seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 2, General Manager's Report. Mr. Brewziak.
A couple things, Mr. Chair, members of the board. You have your calendar, a couple dates on there that are key. We have our TPTA annual conference, 26th through the 29th. I would encourage any board members to attend. That's our annual conference, state conference in San Antonio. And then let me know, and we'll make reservations on that. And we do have our financial meeting 23rd of July here, and we hope to hear from Mexico, giving us the nod or not on the career project that day.
When is that now?
23rd, next Thursday. That'll be in the boardroom here. Regarding stimulus, I'm going to ask John Christopher, RW Beck, to give a brief update. I've sent out a report, weekly report. We are rapidly closing in on the 22nd date to get our plans and specs in for funding. We're on track on that. John, do you want to come up real quick, give an update to the board? Right up there.
Mr. President, just real briefly, we met with the Texas Water Development Board a few weeks ago, discussed different aspects of the project with them. They recommended that we take the approach of using a categorical exclusion to approach the environmental issues. And in doing that, it impacted our project a bit. We had to do some modifications to the design. Those have been done, and we're proceeding down that path right now. We've met with consultants and performed a couple over-the-shoulder reviews, and tomorrow we have one more of those scheduled prior to the consultants submitting their packages to us next Monday by 5 p.m. And looking at the projects, they range in completeness in the time that we saw them, which was a week ago, from 35 to 85% done. And we were hoping everybody would be about 35% done with the design plans by then. And so it's actually a little bit ahead of schedule from what we would have expected. There have been various design issues that we've looked at to try to create a uniformity throughout the program. Some of those have to do with skate interface, metering, fencing, odor control, and control panels. And we've implemented almost all of those now, and all the consultants will be reflecting the same thing on their plans. We participated in 2 or 3 WebEx conferences that the state has put forth. One of them addressing the application, another one the engineering and environmental concerns, and even today, we were talking to them about the green aspects of the project and how they would, different manners in which we could approach that. Right now, the application itself is about 90% complete. By tomorrow, we'll probably be very close to being finished with it. We've already submitted the engineering report section of that as a preview to the state, and they've given us comments back on that, and we've been addressing those today. We might wrap those up tomorrow. And the deadline, again, for submission, as we've said, is to us internally is June 20th, and the deadline to the state is June 22nd, sorry, July 20th, and the deadline to the state is, July 22nd, 5 o'clock. So if you have any questions, I'll be
We
happy
will
to
link
address them.
that up.
So you're satisfied with the progress then of all the firms that we've hired?
Yes, everybody's done a great job. They've been working over weekends, whatever it takes to get it done, they've been doing it.
So then by this weekend, you should pretty much be done.
That's right.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Last thing I had, Mr. Chairman, is the financial report.
What you got to see here?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Pedro Garcia, Chief Financial Officer for Brownsville PUB. I'll be going over the financial performance report as of May 31st, 2009. This first slide provides an overview of our revenue status. Through the end of May, the first 8 months into the fiscal year, PUB has realized a total of $106,460,929 in net operating revenues. That's line 3 there. This consists or comprises of operating revenues of $102 million and wholesale revenues of $4.1 million. Adding other revenues, interest, and other non-operating income, we have a total gross revenues amount of $110,922,514 for the 8 months ending May 31st. 16.7 million of that was attributed to the month of May. Backing out fuel, wholesale, energy expenses, and Southmost, which totaled $39 million for fuel, $3.1 million for wholesale, and $2.9 for Southmost contributions, leaves an adjusted gross revenues amount of $65,642,256. This is the basis, so I report to you every month, of calculating 10% city of Brownsville transfer, which for this month, or through the end of this period, was $6,564,225. We do back out their usage for all those facilities for electric, water, and sewer. That totaled to $2,781,198, which left a net cash transfer to the city of $3,783,027. On this slide, we report the provide an overview of expenses and debt service requirements. Total expenses are on line 15 through the end of May were $33,283,647. Debt service $14,539,510. Total requirements excluding fuel and Southmost was $47,823,157. When you deduct that against the revenues, that leaves a balance available surplus of $15,037,901. Of that amount, 3.7 was tallied up for the city of Brownsville transfer actual usage, net of the actual usage, and then 11.2 million for PUB's transfers out for the various reserve accounts, which are provided in this one slide here. 666,000 of the 1 million annual target for the operating reserve fund has been funded. 2.6 million to the fuel adjustment account, total against 4 million annual budget. 6.5 million against the 9.7 million annual budget, and then 1 million to the improvement reserve fund against the 1.5 million annual target. Completing the transfers to these funds did leave a positive true surplus of $416,368. And these numbers are for all 3 utilities combined, electric, water, and sewer. Net operating revenues, we are still continuing to fall short against our 2008 actual numbers. 106 million compared to the 124 million in 2008 provides an 18.1 million variance there, or 14.5%. We are also under budget. Budget through the period ending May 31st was 113 million. So we're 7.2 million behind those budgeted amounts. On the gross revenues, 110 million, 0.9, was 8.4 million less than the budget and 19.2 million less than the 2008. And the big differences here, as you'll see in a minute, are attributed to the fuel expenses. We have benefit from low cost or lower cost than natural gas, and I'll go into that in a minute. Adjusted gross revenues after we take out the fuel and the Southmost brings our actual numbers closer to the budget and slightly under the 2008. 65.6 versus 65.5 budgeted, and 8.7 million below 2008 levels. There at 74.3 million. Fuel and energy cost, we've covered 39.3 million in fuel and energy costs versus our budget of 45.6. That's a 6.3 million, and in this case, it's a favorable difference. We've been spending less than projected, and it's a 9.1 million difference from our 2008 actual levels. O&M expenses, we're at 32.1 million, 4.4 million below our budget through the time period of 36.5, and 3.8 million above 2008 levels at 28.3 million. Balance available for surplus, total 15 million. Of that, 11.3 million was available for PUB reserves, and 3.8 million for the city cash transfer. Electric continues to provide the major part of the surplus, is expected 11.88 million. Water, I'm pleased to inform that water for the first month and in several months did have a positive balance and was able to meet the full share of the city transfer. We had a balance of 985 in water, transferred out 775,000 to the city, and we ended the period or the month with a balance of 210,000. In prior months, we've been fluctuating between 100,000, 200,000 negative balance in water, and we did realize a gain here, and ended with a 210,000 positive balance. On the wastewater, we had 2.17 million available. The city transferred 1.2, so we also retain a positive balance of 939,000 for PUB uses. Electric, on this graph, you'll see the consumption trending pretty much in line with the 2008, up there at 104 kWh, 104 million kWh. Cumulatively, we still have a difference of 168,859, which represents about the 6.1% variance from 2008 actual levels. And you'll see that, starting in October, that red line, all but for the month of January and April, we're kind of below the 2008 levels of blue line. So we are catching up, making progress there. On the water, we exceeded the 2008 levels there in April, as you can see, and then dropped a little bit in May, but still maintained a difference there between 2008 and 2009. 2008 for May, we had 599,528 gallons, or per thousand gallons. The month of May, we had 651,659. Overall, the increase there in April and May has reduced the year-to-date difference between 2008 and 2009 down to 12,459 gallons, or 0.3% below 2008 levels. On the wastewater side, we also stayed above the 2008 levels there for the month of May. Overall, we're 49,897 behind 2008 levels, or 1.7%. We did realize some rain, or experience some rain during the month of May. Precipitation levels here were at 4.52 for the month of May, a big increase from the prior 4 or 5 months there. Temperature, we track temperature also to kind of correlate the temperature and electric use. The red line there for 2009 is pretty much on line with the 2008 levels and 5-year average. On the CIP side, our total plan for 2009 is 75 million. 23.5 million has been spent or encumbered, which is at a rate of 31.4%. 12 million, or 53% of the 23 million is attributed to water and wastewater. and then 45% to, or 10 million to electric. That concludes the financial performance report. Any questions?
Thank you.
That's all I have.
All right. Okay, item number 3 on the agenda is consideration and approval to award a contract for online credit card kiosk payment processing.
Yes, I'm going to have our Director of Customer and Information Services, Eddie Hernandez, and our Customer Service Manager, Susan Walker, present this item.
Chairman, members of the board, this is consideration and approval to award a contract for online credit card and kiosk payment processing. BPUB has requested quotes from various vendors to handle online credit card and kiosk payment processing. BPUB requested that the vendors submit pricing for 2 methods, an absorbed method model where PUB pays the fee for the customer, and a convenience fee model, which is where the customer pays the fee. Currently, BPUB uses the convenience fee model where the customer is paying, and currently the customer is paying $625 per $600 transaction if they pay online or via the phone system. Now, if they come in and pay here at the building, PUB is absorbing the cost of the transaction, and that is strictly due to the Visa rules. It's a little counterintuitive because, of course, that encourages people to come here, which is what we don't want. We want to make it convenient for them to stay at home and pay online or whatever. There are cost comparison sheets showing both methods attached to your handout. Staff is recommending that BPUB adopt the absorbed fee model, in which Paymentus is the most advantageous proposal. The cost is an estimate as it is based on volume. BPUB prefers the absorbed fee model to entice customers to use their online and phone payment systems, which this allows PUB to open virtual offices that do not require additional manpower or office space. Do you all have any questions at this time?
There's 2, you have 2 listed here, Landmark Clearing and Fiserv Financial Services.
We have 3 listed, Paymentus, Landmark, and Fiserv.
Okay. Which one do you all?
We're recommending Paymentus, which is $1 for e-checks and $2 for qualified and non-qualified transactions.
What is a unqualified, non-qualified transaction? Is it the difference in pricing for, it goes from $2 to a high of 17? That $2, are we sure that Paymentus, is that how you pronounce that?
Paymentus.
Paymentus. I mean, on the qualified, they're a little bit high, but the same as one of the other vendors. But the difference in the transaction and cost seems to be on the non-qualified part. What is that, and are we sure that they're going to be able to deliver that $2 non-qualified transaction cost, especially in light of the fact that Landmark and Fiserv are at $17.71 and then $15 respectively?
Well, okay, to answer your first question, they all have slightly different interpretations of what's qualified and what's non-qualified. Basically, it kind of comes down to residential versus commercial, if you want to look at it that way. Because the business cards have a much higher fees attached to them. Paymentus has said that they will hold to the $2 across the board. I guess the one stipulation that I do need to put in there is that we are limiting the transactions to $1,000. And that's what kind of seals the deal a little bit. Because as the dollar amount increases, also the fees increase. So this would be limited to $1,000 if somebody were walking in the door. Now, about, if I remember correctly, 97% of our customers are at 750 or below the $1,000 range. So it would cover the vast majority of our customers.
How long is this contract going to be?
Currently, the contract that they've given us is asking for a 5-year period. We're going to have that contract reviewed by our attorneys, and that's something that we're kind of going back and forth negotiating at this point. But I wanted to get it by the board.
And I just want to make sure, I guess, again, on that non-qualified, there's such a disparity that basically doubles the amount of cost, that if they don't deliver according to what our price estimates were, that we're able to get out on the contract or rebid it or do something else, because there's a big change.
And we'll have the attorneys review it.
That's all the questions that I have.
I have a question. I guess for customers that are coming in to PUB and that we're absorbing that fee, how much, what's the dollar amount of that fee that we're absorbing?
Okay, I believe it's a $625?
No, well, how much is part of the fee, just about,
Per transaction.
I guess what I was wondering is the cost benefit, because I guess what you're saying is that since now we're gonna absorb that fee, that it will entice his customers to pay online. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay, so there is a cost that we're paying right now, and I guess I just wanted to know what that cost was.
Well, overall, the cost is about $50,000.
$50,000? And now this system is gonna cost us $160,000 a year?
Correct. And we'll be paying the fee for all customers.
Okay, so we're going from 50,000 to 160,000.
Correct.
And then the idea is to allow more convenience for customers, so that way it alleviates the lobby people from having to handle so many transactions in the lobby. So that's gonna be our benefit.
Exactly.
Well, I think also, so we won't have to hire any more personnel on site.
Yeah, I guess the way we're looking at it is as PUB grows, the other option is to look at off-site, creating other satellite offices, and it's expensive to do that. When you look at the property, whether it's rent or purchase, and when you look at, then you have to hire, additional people, and it's not like you can put one person out there. So we've been through those numbers before a few years prior, and it's expensive to do. And I think that overall, this is a much more economical option.
So they could do this online or by phone or?
Right, and it would be zero cost to the customer.
Any other questions? None, I'll entertain a motion.
I would move to approve based on staff recommendation.
To, Pimentas, on the absorbed fee model.
Second.
Second by Mr. Morales. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Item number 5 is consideration and approval. Get the right number.
4.
Got 4? 4. Consideration and approval to provide commercial paper funding for water and wastewater capital improvement project for the period of July through September 2009. That's it.
Yes, this item seeks amendment to our commercial paper funding, ongoing funding schedule. What we've included here in this amendment is some engineering expenses for our wastewater projects that are soon to be funded, we hope, with grant monies. We did have to commence with the engineering effort on these projects prior to the deadlines that were mentioned earlier, the July 22nd deadline. So we have brought these contracts to the board in previous meetings. So the intent is to fund these contracts with commercial paper, and therefore we're amending the schedule. We're also reducing some funding from prior projects. So the net change is $6.5 million, $6,582,174. But we did add in the wastewater area $9.1 million to accommodate the engineering efforts.
But what is the current rate of the funding on that commercial paper facility?
Commercial paper right now can be secured at about 0.35%. Yeah, we actually haven't gone to market. We're actually pre-funding the requirements with internal cash. And waiting to build maybe $47 million and then go to market. The marketing agent, Goldman Sachs, finds it more marketable if we do a bigger number, 10 million, 15 million. We're going to try to do maybe a $7.5 million in mid-August, early September.
Any other questions?
I would move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Mr. Villarreal, motion, and Mr. Vasquez, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. It's approved. Item number 5, consideration and approval of sponsorship for the 2009 City of Brownsville City Managers Golf Classic. And Mr.
Mr.
Reed.
Chairman, members of the board, I've attached the packet, in your packet, the information on this. This program is for the first tournament they've had sponsorship for, and it is to support the youth sports programs in Brownsville. And I would recommend we contribute to that and be a major sponsor, and we'll find the money.
What sponsorship level are you talking about?
$10,000. That would be my recommendation. We'll find the money and make the cuts, but I do think it's important. I've talked to the city manager, talked to the commission on this, and they need our help on this.
Are you gonna be the company promo officer? I would move to approve subject to John being up there in front of everybody.
I'll second it. Well, let me come back. That's fine.
Who's doing it? Okay. Is this a team? Does the team play?
I think there's several teams.
Okay.
So,
I don't
You
play
get to
golf,
play with
so.
any team.
All right, I have a motion to, I have a motion, Mr. Villarreal, second by Mr. Hinojosa. All those in favor signify of a $10,000 scholarship, funding. Sponsorship, platinum sponsorship. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Items 6, 7, and 8 are going to be the changes in the electric, water, and wastewater service policy. Item number 6 is on chapter 6.
Let me make a comment on these for the board. The chapter 6, 7, and appendix B, there's no fee changes in here. So in these approvals, you're not approving a new fee that's either non-existent or already in existence or already been approved by the city commission, such as the impact. We're not asking for any new fees or additional fees to our service policy. These are more cleanup items. They reflect the new impact fee, but there's no new fees we're asking for with these first 6, 7, and 8, items 6, 7, and 8. I just want.
And I guess you go through the review process as internal staff and our attorneys as well, have reviewed them.
Yes.
Let me ask you the question, that I don't really understand the difference between the red, the blue, and the green.
Maryland worked on these.
Some of this, I know, like the red was changed from PUB to BPUB, okay? The blue, was that an insertion, or?
What happened with this document was that there were several members that reviewed it, and depending on who was making those changes is a color code. So some of the codes may have been done by legal, which may be, and some of the codes may have been done by myself or some other staff member within PUB. So that's why there's 3 or 4 different color codes. And as that individual was being, the changes were being followed, then those changes are per individual basis.
I guess my concern with this changes is that I saw that on the side it says the ones that are deleted,
Yes.
but I'm not too sure about the ones that were added.
The,
So how do I know which one was added to
The
the
ones that-
policy?
the ones that were added, is anything that is color coded within the policy, all of that is new language, anything that's in color. Anything that is in black is existing policy.
So all of that's color-coded in this policy has been added?
Yes.
Is new, yes.
And some of this had, you said legal, they reviewed it, the language and the statute to make this conform to some of the language in the statute.
Not Mr. Rodriguez, but John Davis.
John Davidson's
Yes.
statute.
Yes, that's correct. But again, there's no new fees here or charges that would be considered by the board. It's all existing.
When I read it, it was a lot of procedures and
Wordsmith,
processes, appeals process, committee appointments, reporting requirements, a lot more detailed than it had been in the past. When was the last time you updated these policies, John? Or did the board approve updates?
Years.
Years ago.
About 30 years.
30 years?
30 years.
Yeah,
I think
that's
the
probably
laws
about right.
changed a little bit in 30 years. They changed 2 years ago.
The only concern that I had is that there was a lot of changes, and I think I just would want to have a time for clarifying questions that I had to the policy. And I had written, some concerns that I had, and so I just think that we need some more time to come up with questions. And then I don't know to what extent the kayak committee had an opportunity to maybe look at some of these policy changes, if they need to look at it or not. And since all of this has been kind of after the effects of all the meetings that have been going on about the impact fees and the cost involved with the studies and then, you know, so I just had a lot of questions. So my concern is that I wanted to.
Would you like to have a workshop on this?
I would like to have a workshop.
That's fine, whatever wish of the board. We gotta keep bringing it because we need to get it approved.
Are there anything that's time sensitive in this, John?
Well, the impact fees are being assessed, and they're not reflective in our policy, so it could be challenged, but we're adopting the fees that the city.
Maybe we ought to have them at the next meeting here.
May I make a comment? The city commission city ordinance that was passed gave us 45 days to be in compliance with our policies, and we're well outside with that 45-day limit.
We did bring these last month, we said
Yeah, I know, but
we keep bringing them.
again, we didn't have a workshop. We should have had a workshop possibly today on these things, but anyway.
Well, we can do it at next meeting and have a workshop.
Well, let's just see what the board wants to do. Do they want to have a workshop? Do you want to approve it, or you want to?
I want to have a workshop, so I move that we table the policy changes until we have a workshop so we can clarify.
I have a motion to table. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second by Mr. Vasquez. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. This matter is tabled.
Is
Hopefully-
that motion, would that motion be the 6, 7, and 8?
For 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah, we will have a workshop next meeting for, I think we can do it in 30 minutes.
All right. All right. 6, 7, and 8. All right, that takes us through the regular agenda. We have now into the consent items. We have, I believe, 3 items. Anybody wish to discuss any of the 3 items? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve all consent items.
So moved.
Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Vasquez, Mr. Morales has seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And do we have any public comments? Anybody signed up? No? All right, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor signify.
Aye.
Wait a minute. I haven't got the motion. I have a motion by Mr. Vasquez and a second by, everybody is all right. All those in favor signify by saying